My name is Faith, and I have some stories to tell. I'm a boxer bulldog mix. My mom and dad met me while I was being cared for at the Best Friends Animal Society in Utah and decided they wanted to adopt me. Now, I live in Muncie, Indiana, with Grateful Rescue and Sanctuary founders Pamela and Mike. In fact, I'm the ambassador for Grateful Rescue. It's a pretty sweet life. Sometimes I help my dad at the office, while other times I just demand attention from my mom. Tonight, we want you to gather around and listen to fun, interesting stories. We call it Faith's Book Nook. Each week, we pick a local celebrity or special person in the community to read a children's book that has an animal theme. We live stream it here each week. To be honest, I'm not sure what a live stream means. Anyways, make sure you're in your comfy chair because we're about to listen to a great story together at Faith's Book Nook.
Hi, I'm Laurren Darr, and I'm going to read to you my children's book, Lipstick on a Pug. Once upon a decade called the 70s, in a small town, there lived a little pigtailed blonde girl named Lauren. She lived in a one-bedroom house with her parents, 2 older brothers, and an older sister. One beautiful summer day, the olive-colored rotary phone that had a long spiral matching cord hanging on the wall in the kitchen rang. Lauren loved this phone. Sometimes when she picked it up, she could hear neighbors talking on it. Her mom said that was because it was a party line. The front of the phone had this clear plastic circle with circle cutouts around the outer edge where you put your fingers to dial the numbers. And in the middle was a round piece of paper held underneath with their phone number, 962-2624. She could hear her mother chuckling and saying things like, "You're kidding me. I've never heard of such a thing. I guess we'll have to come see it." When her mom put the phone handle onto the silver cradle, Lauren bolted to the kitchen to find out what was going on. Apparently, it was her aunt that had called and they were going to take a trip to her house. In all of the commotion of getting her shoes on and rushing to the car, all Lauren heard her mom say was, "We gotta see it before it's gone." Lauren was dying to know what it was that they had to go see. She was excited. There was an air of mystery. And even though she tried to ask what they had to go see, everyone else's chatter in the car drowned out her little voice. So she let her mind wander. She laid down in the back seat and just stared at the sky and watched the telephone poles and their wires whoosh by. This always put her into a sort of trance and seemed to make her time fly by. The next thing she knew, they had arrived at her aunt's house. It wasn't really a house, it was a trailer. It was in what seemed to be the middle of nowhere on a road made of gravel. As they pulled into the rocky drive, everyone else in the car was pointing and giggling. They jumped out. Lauren was last. She had to walk through the maze of legs and chatter on the cement porch to see what the mystery was. Finally, after what felt like days, Lauren muscled her way to the front of the family crowd and looked down to see where they were pointing. What she saw was like nothing she'd ever seen before. It was a creature. It had a weird, wrinkly face that made it look like it was 1,000,000 years old. It had eyes that bulged out in a way that made you think its face was being squeezed. And it had this nose that looked like it had been smashed by a freight train. Then there was this tail shaped in a little curly cue. What was it? It was the most pitiful creature Laurren had ever seen. She sat down on the cold cement, bewildered. At about that time, her aunt, who worked in a vet's office, said, "Isn't that the funniest dog you've ever seen?" She was left at the clinic to get fixed, and the guy who had her didn't come to pick her up. He said she wasn't any use to him anymore. The vet said it's a Chinese pug. As her aunt spoke, the creature seemed to come out of her shell. She stopped cowering in the corner and looked up at Laurren with her huge, sparkling, twinkling eyes. She shuffled very slowly with her head down across the porch, not looking at anyone. You could tell she was afraid. Everyone stood to see what she would do. Her aunt said, "She's a good dog, never been out of a cage. I haven't been able to get her to come to anybody or do anything. I brought her here for the weekend to keep an eye on her." By that time, this pug managed to slowly saunter across the porch. She sniffed at Lauren's legs, which were crisscrossed into a pretzel shape. Then she put her head down and just laid there looking up with her beautiful brown eyes. And in that very moment, Laurren was in love. She didn't really know what to do, so she just patted the dog on her head to let her know everything was going to be all right. Her aunt chimed in. "Her name is White Pine's Tootie. You can call her Tootie." Laurren laughed. "Tootie? What kind of a name is Tootie?" Just then, Tootie let out a sneeze snort and liquid globules catapulted from her smashed nose and sprayed all over the place. Everyone let out a groan of grossness and disbelief. Laurren just laughed even more and kept petting Tootie. She knew that this had to be her dog. When she looked up to see the look on her mom's face, she knew that she didn't even have to ask. Everyone seemed to know that she and Tootie were meant to be. After some conversation and phone calls, Tootie was packed up in the car with Laurren in the back seat for the ride home. For Laurren, it felt like a dream. Not long after Tootie's stitches were removed, they found a routine. They would run around the backyard, walk up and down the street, and hang out on the porch. They were two peas in a pod. Laurren learned that Tootie came from a breeder that didn't allow dogs to just be dogs. Tootie had never run, played, or even barked. It was so funny the first time that Tootie let out this raspy, sick-sounding yelp that sounded like she'd had a cold for a week. She scared herself and ran to a corner because she thought she was going to get in trouble. She realized it was okay when everyone started to laugh. One of their favorite times of day was when Laurren would get out baby clothes and play dress up with Tootie. She didn't have a baby stroller, so she would glam Tootie up in her Sunday best and push her around in a canvas laundry cart, the kind that you would find in a laundromat. They had a ball in their own world with the unbreakable bond that had been created between them. One day, Lauren's grandmother stopped by and Laurren thought she had hit the jackpot for her dress-up time with Tootie. Grandma gave her a pair of fabulous dangly red clippy earrings and some magnificent bright red lipstick from her purse. She thought Laurren would use them for herself since she wanted to encourage her to be a little more ladylike. But instead, Tootie became the talk of the neighborhood when Laurren dressed Tootie, put those clippy earrings on her, and smeared some lipstick around her pug lips. What a sight the two of them were, dressed to the nines, prancing up and down the sidewalk as if they were walking the red carpet at an award ceremony. Grandma gasped, other kids pointed, and the family laughed. Laurren didn't care. She and Tootie were having the time of their life. Laurren always felt like she could conquer the world with style when she put lipstick on a pug.